This is a bit of a preface here today. I am not even coming close to suggesting that this will be Evgeni Malkin's final season in the NHL. There's been nothing, not from him, not from the team, not from anybody, to suggest that. But we'd also, all of us, be remiss if we wasted any opportunity to appreciate him while he's still around. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning, and happy Geno's birthday. He actually turns 39 today. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Once more, for emphasis, Geno has never said this is going to be his last year or even talked about it in that vein. The closest anybody could come up with as it relates to some kind of clue would be that on the last day of the regular season, he found some clever, funny way to avoid speaking with a group of us who were around his stall. And then at the team's locker cleanout up in Cranberry, he was a no-show. And that's just so Geno on so many levels that it's hard to attach that to anything. We don't know. The Penguins don't know. Heck, it's entirely possible that Geno himself doesn't know. One thing that he'd mentioned to me late in the season was that he felt his legs were in good shape. He always finds his strength, for somebody who has always exhibited such brilliant vision and playmaking skill. He's always founded everything that he does in his skating, in his extraordinarily strong, authoritative skating. And you know what I'm talking about because you can picture right now in your head Geno cutting up ice and carving that rink up with that deep sound. If he can do that, as we've seen, Geno can be a very good player still. He can be one of the NHL's best number 2 centers still. He can be, as he's been for a while now, contrary to some gross misperceptions that occasionally get bounced around, a bargain and a half at his price. This at $6.1 million per year. 200 points, exactly 200 points in his past 3 seasons, by the way, just to take a sledgehammer to that subject. But, what if it is? What if this actually is it? What if there's an injury? What if there's something else that frustrates him? What if he just realizes or has already made up his mind even that he's done? Well, in that event, one would certainly hope that I don't ever like to say how other teams should respond to when your guys come into their building. And I also understand that what happened with Marc-Andre Fleury this past season was really unusual, and it was different everywhere that he went, depending on his relationship with that team or that city. And I actually don't expect anything like that to happen with Geno. But I do think, depending on the awareness of what his decision might be, you'll see exceptions in places like Washington, for instance, or maybe even in a city like Montreal where they just respect the game. But here in Pittsburgh, yeah, I could see there being something of a ride there. I could see there being something of a theme over the final, month or two. Do you want to know what else I can envision? I can envision Geno being really, really good. Like really, really driven. And you know, since you've watched all 20 years of his career, that the two tend to coincide. I'm going to throw a couple of numbers out at you here. Because all players, they'll all say they're not motivated by numbers, individual stuff, and they're all full of it. Everybody has something that they're aware of and that they're shooting for. Geno is currently at 514 goals and 1,346 points. Now, the man who was hit so hard by being left off the NHL's all-time top 100, and very, very rightly so, is going to love to be able to push up to 1,400 points. That's only 54 points. This past season, in just 68 games, he had 50 points. So that's plenty plausible. It's a reasonable and impressive goal if he should get it. If he does, and he's done, like right in that range, at around 1,400 points, he would finish his career ranked between 22nd and 23rd on the NHL's all-time list. Here are a couple names for you, Dale Hawerchuk, the Winnipeg legend, Jari Kurri, the exceptional sniper from Finland, and, getting up near the top 20, he's currently at 31, by the way, would make one walloping statement on the way out for the idiots who left him off the top 100. And there's one other area, and that's where he ranks or rates even among Russians. You would think this would be somewhat cut and dried, if only because the whole anti-Russian bias, and that's been predominantly out of Canada for a long, long time now, doesn't really apply. And yet, if you do even a casual search on Google or AI or whatever it is, top Russian players of all time, or even just limiting it to top Russian players in the NHL of all time, I found one, and this was on the Hockey News, that had him listed at number 7, right behind Sergei Zubov. And then ahead of Zubov was Pavel Datsyuk, who did some amazing things, but has only like 350 fewer points. In using this only as an example, not to suggest they're the authority on anything, of how rampantly disrespected this player's been. That term and these debates and these discussions tend to get overblown. Not this one. Not this one. And if anything, it feels like he's been punished in a way for always being happy to be the center behind Sidney Crosby and always being happy to be in Pittsburgh because he likes playing with Sid, he likes the city, but he also likes winning. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's been an MVP. He's been a goal-scoring champion. He's been a scoring champion. But some people just can't get out of their head, oh yeah, well, he's only the number 2 center in Pittsburgh. I don't know. I don't even like talking about this. I just brought it up because I saw that it was his birthday. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from very far away. It's from Garrett, who says, DK, I love you, man. I listen to you almost every day while walking to work. I live in South Korea. I have my long-term girlfriend here, but even though I've been abroad for 15 years, the Penguins are still the love of my life. Dude, you just mentioned that you have a long-term girlfriend, but that the hockey team is the love of your life. You might want to reconsider this before I actually read it. Oh, wait, I just did. Continuing now from Garrett. The fans who want to see the team totally suck, they mean it because they love the Penguins enough to endure a few horrid seasons for a chance to draft another Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Evgeni Malkin, Sidney Crosby. I agree with a lot of what you say, but you're saying the Penguins are not going to finish in any meaningful lottery slot, and I think you might be wrong on this one. We're not better than last year, and if we shed the Rust and or Raquel contracts before the trade deadline in return for a first-round pick for one or both, and we're going to be sitting pretty in a top 3 or 4 lottery slot. If you want to win championships, you have to draft elite players who will turn into stars. Otherwise, what are we doing? Just hanging out in the mushy middle like the Steelers for another decade. I had a feeling mushy middle was going to make it into this one. I have a lot of different things that I can say here, Garrett, that, at least from my perspective, would pick apart some of your argument. For example, you say that you're going to get a first-round pick for Rust or Raquel. I don't know that you're going to do that, but I do know that the next part of what you said, which is that we will be sitting pretty in a top 3 or 4 lottery slot, will absolutely not happen. Teams aren't going to be giving those picks up without lottery protecting them. And teams actually aren't going to give those picks up for those players. Not if they're anywhere near high in the first round. It's supposed to be a very good draft. But I also know when I'm, walking against the tide, and that's what's happening here. There's a portion of this fan base that is just set on this idea that if you don't become some complete catastrophe at the NHL level, you can't conceivably advance. Well, it's just not true. Does a great player or multiple great players, does that help you in your chances of winning the cup? Of course it does. Does it guarantee it? No, of course it doesn't. See also Edmonton. But can you win? Can you win it all without one or more? Yeah, you don't have to go back very far to think of the 2019 St. Louis Blues. Leading scorer, Ryan O'Reilly in the regular season didn't even average a point a game. 77 in 82 games. Next highest scorer, Vladimir Tarasenko. Really nice player at different stages of his career. Hardly what I'd consider to be some generational talent. Third leading scorer, Braden Shen. Fourth leading scorer, David Perron. Leading scorer among defensemen, Alex Pietrangelo. Then comes Tyler Bozak and a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. In goal, Jordan Binnington, who's been really up and down pretty much ever since then. What happened? They had a bunch of guys that got together, made themselves a pretty nice team, had some good size, had some real toughness to them. Had both O'Reilly and Schwartz really step up in the playoffs. And that's the objective. The objective is to win the cup. And there are other examples too. I'm just picking out the one that pops into my head here. There was nothing mushy or middle about what the Blues did that year. They made history. They became the first St. Louis team to raise that cup. So to me, it's just, there's a whole lot of common notions that are out there that are overriding common sense. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.